Assalamu alaikum audience. Hopefully you'll be doing fine. Today we'll be discussing the module 5th of our ongoing sessions on knowledge management. And the topic today we'll be covering will be knowledge sharing. And especially we will be providing it a context that is the communities of practice. It is a very well established phenomenon in knowledge management. Community as a practice tends to be uh, playing a vital role in the acceleration of knowledge management in terms of providing the right space, physical or virtual, where people having common interest tend to share knowledge uh, based on certain habits, norms, practices, and based on certain common goals. So we're looking at why and why not knowledge sharing could play an important role and how communities of practice uh, could enable the whole process. As we are into the phase of the knowledge management, where we understand that creating knowledge is not enough. Knowledge stock rising through new knowledge creation is not true essence of knowledge management, especially the conversion of tacit into explicit format. So developing repositories, storing knowledge in files, documents is not enough. In fact, people believe that knowledge management is not complete without the concept of knowledge sharing, that is, connecting the right people to the right knowledge at the right time, where the knowledge management habits, practices, and technologies are established or developed in a way that people are connected to the desired knowledge, accessibility, and the culture of sharing important things with others uh, should be rather the way a powerful knowledge company who creates knowledge should establish. So it's not about technology only, it's not about repositories, it's not about updation of knowledge only. It is also important that people should be able to access, share, and be able to discuss the knowledge with each other. So the knowledge management therefore requires a knowledge sharing culture alongside development of knowledge or management technologies. It is the process through which explicit mostly but tacit knowledge recently is communicated to other individuals. That is, once someone who is known to be expert, knowledgeable, he or she is required to share his expertise with others. The knowledge forms could be documents, files, but could be insights, experiences, habits, and therefore could be both in terms of explicit as well as implicit. Um, Therefore, transfer of active knowledge is is as important, and this sharing could enable individuals but also groups, in fact, the whole organization, so different departments as well. It's just not recommendations, uh, and it's just not things, rather, it is the true knowledge that is to be transferred to people. And therefore, of course, it will depend upon the receiver to utilize in a useful way. So it is a comprehensive process through which people learn and is facilitated. A knowledge sharing system, therefore, something that we will be looking at in future is a tool, a mechanism, uh, process enabler, most likely an information technology or technological solution that helps to process this information and transfer it to the recipient in the right way. Uh, it could has it could be with any form. In fact, very simple emailing systems, discussion groups, chat options could even be used as a full-fledged knowledge sharing tools. But a sophisticated knowledge management system with artificial intelligence and other options could be a very powerful and complex tool to do that. But in the basics, the knowledge management systems and tools are there to facilitate the share and transfer of knowledge to individuals, to groups, and to different departments. Once we understand the knowledge sharing process and the need for it, the concept of communities of practice is something that has been there for last 50, 60 years, but has taken a lot of new shapes because the rise of the information technology, especially internet, has provided the cyberspace where people could get together, develop and form a community where a group of people could share their thoughts and common concerns and tend to share ideas with a vision to learn from others. And they have a habit, they habitual in terms of interacting with people a lot, and that is their interaction level is quite continuous and ongoing basis. This was initially developed as a network of people where they were connected because of their common practice and they're learning from each other. This helps in the socialization process. That is, people tend to connect to each other because of this common goal, and they tend to be proud at part of that community. And community is just not there for fun, but also is a source of continuous learning for them. So, community practices tend to provide the right platform and the continuous source of motivation for people to connect. The learning theory, which was presented by Jean Lave and Etienne Wenger, they proposes the idea that social aspects of learning cannot be ignored. Um, that was their observation during their evaluation or observation of the daily life people spend. So, better the engagement, better the fruits of knowledge sharing. Therefore, they presented the thought of communities of practice. Most probably, it takes the shape of an organization, mostly informal, times very formal. So it is a joint enterprise in which there are memberships and people tend to connect to each other because of that. They tend to be binded together through a mutual interaction, engagement phenomena, where they like to connect to others, others do the same. And it is basically a repertoire that is sort of a platform or infrastructure where communal resources are available, where you use certain language, people tend to behave in a certain way. Also, they tend to evolve over the there is a resource at infed.org on communities of practice where detail about the behavior nature of community practice could be seen around there. Let's have a look at some of the communities of practices available in modern organizations. And if you look at this list, you'll find that mostly technicians, doctors, physicians, um, people who in sciences, uh, researchers, people who are constantly involved in the new developments, they tend to connect to each other to seek advice and to learn from their experiences. I think the most powerful communities practices are in the information technology world, where people related to software, architecture, cyberspace, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, people related to the computer architecture, hardware, they tend to connect to each other and then pass on their experiences regarding new technologies, new developments that are there. Generally, community practice could be explained through three phenomena that are the domain, the community, and the practice. Most probably, they are connected because of a certain purpose. They identify themselves because of that certain connection that is there. So you see, Xerox copier technicians, they are all uh, tough, and therefore they want to be connected to people of the similar domain or the area. So they are committed and associated with that area of interest domain, and they learn based on the shared competence. Whereas it has to be more connecting to cause want to, and their beneficiaries of that also contributors to that. So therefore, there's a sense of community building where members basically are actively involved in discussions and maybe on working on common projects at times, and the sense of supporting and facilitating each other is there, and also they tend to continuously share updates information to the people, and they tend to build up bond where they have a liking for each other, or they because of the tendency or the common goal they are trying to achieve is to improve their product or service or technology. They have a strong relationship as well. Um, Finally, they are connected to practice that particular activity where they want to share their experiences, stories, or to develop tools where they are looking at problems and trying to find their solutions. So most probably, many practitioners tend to develop communities of practice. Constant communication and focus on norms, values, and learning is essential part of the communities of practice. So the powerful communities of practices and ordinary communities of practice could be differentiated based on these elements. They're defined by people, not based on tasks. So therefore, human aspects, psychological, social aspects tend to come into play, which creates certain challenges, but people tend to overcome those challenges with passage of time. They basically are there for collaboration and communication, but based on subject matter experts. So therefore, a continuous source of development in the area. Um, they are there for innovation as well. So they're not reinventing the wheel, rather they all continuously evolve and grow and create attraction because of this. So there's a sense of attraction because they want to do something new. And they also share best practices. So you come across on regular basis something that you're not aware of, but could be used to enhance your work. So these are some of the most common purposes these COPs are for. They gather collective knowledge, wisdom of the crowd, where everyone has to teach someone, or everyone is there to learn as well. So it's a simultaneous role people tend to play where they are contributors as well as they are receivers, beneficiaries that are there. Look at the physical world, you can see a lot of big brands around here, and most likely you could see from multiple industries. They belong to different industries. You see pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer is there, and you can see IT technological giants like IBM, petroleum giants like Shell and automobile industry like Ford, and then multiple industry people from the consulting firms are also there, and the community practice have been very common in consultancy firms. So they are very common across industries. They are not particularly designed for manufacturing concerns. Rather, these are also available in the non-profit sector, services world as well. There are multiple benefits as we've seen that biggest benefit is the continuous evolving nature of the COP, so source of continuous learning. And because people tend to connect to best people around, so it motivates them to keep the connection alive. Uh, Communities practice since are a useful way in knowledge sharing could take place. So, what organizations could do to nurture those communities of practice within their own setup? Initially, it seems uphill task to connect multiple people at a single place, but with the passage of time, once the fruits are coming, organizations tend to take up these elements very seriously. I think the most important thing is to get them mobilized all the time. So you're launching multiple socializing events where people are connected to these activities a lot. Generally, it requires a certain administration core group in a communities of practice, but then it evolves and gathers momentum by adding up members and volunteers elsewhere. Idea is to provide opportunities where people could connect to those activities and be able to create opportunities for themselves and for others. Once community practice are useful, it has certain implications for knowledge management. It builds up the argument that knowledge management is basically a social phenomenon. That's we have learned in the Japanese firms that socialization is the key to knowledge management. And partners learning and motivation for learning is therefore is essential. And therefore, learning in groups, that is perhaps the real context of COP, where perhaps less formal, more informal procedures are available and facilitation mechanisms are there. So therefore, it really is something that knowledge management uh, future holds for. Community practice would really accelerate the whole thing. Uh, Many enablers are there where COPs could really flourish. You could see information technology is one of the tools that could really help. Of course, it requires social and cultural aspects like management support is required. They require a certain space, physical or virtual, but also requires constant motivation through incentives and change agents or facilitators who are called these stewards. Organizations could work on these areas and could reap the benefits of the COPs. Finally, we are looking at multiple organizations who do that. We have looked at examples with Xerox and pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and many more who are good at it. We're looking at knowledge management in services world. We could see this communities of practice, which is called the EDNA. EDNA is a community of practice, a network of educators in Australia. It's a free online network for educators. You can find educators of similar domain of your area and connect to them, and then of course start the whole process of sharing and um, learning the best practices. They basically have subheads, subsections geographically so that you connect close by people and be able to learn from them. Of course, the basic method of connecting people is through blogs, dashboards, wiki spaces. These are very useful tools to share knowledge and could be easily be managed, and therefore you could learn from that. World famous social organization, social enterprise organization, non-profit organization, USAID also uses communities of practice. They encourage people to connect to these and continuously upload and share resources for them. They encourage developing a network and therefore are facilitating the whole knowledge management process. Multiple articles have talked about it. I've just presented a very few resources so that if you want to learn about those, especially in COVID times, the remoteness and the remote aspects of the community organization in adversity and still be able to reap the benefit of virtual connections to people. Uh, where the article suggests that COPs tend to evolve new ideas and diverse perspectives are taken into and be able to adapt and refine themselves. These communities practice, they have a life forward. I hope this session has um, presented an important phenomenon and also the importance of knowledge sharing to the class and it's a simple straightforward resource